I think there is something very it's unique to everybody that is traveling outside Nigeria. They always have this like tendencies, like pack food. They like want to carry like a lot because it's assumed that these things are not there in that country, or if even if it's available, it's quite expensive. So given that Saudi is a country that just they're recently opening up to, like, say, yes, Africans or Nigerians, so we don't really have an African store here in Saudi Arabia, unlike the UK or US or Canada and other countries where you can actually walk into any African store and get whatever it is you want to get. We don't have such here in Saudi Arabia. Hold up, I forgot I didn't put my mic on. Don't mind me, John. So many things on my mind. I forgot I didn't put it on my mic. Sorry guys. Okay, so as I was saying, it's not like all the other countries where all those things are. You have an African store in place. We don't really have anything like an African store here in Saudi Arabia. So actually, it's advised that when you actually come in here, actually you should bring food stuff. Like before we came, I think we had this advice from friends that they were like, don't even bother to bring clothes. We don't even need clothes for anything. If there's anything you should bring, it's food, because it's not, you don't have the varieties you have like in other countries here in Saudi Arabia. And actually I agree with them, because when we came I realized that boom is always rice. If it's not rice, it's rice. If it's not rice, it's rice. If it's not rice, it's spaghetti. And there was no room for there was no room for varieties. And so I would just stay advising even our friends coming that if they are coming, that if they are coming, that they should try and bring food stuff with them. So this is actually what informed this video. In fact, some of my friends, when we first came here, they were like, what do people eat? What do they have in Saudi Arabia? And I'm like, we eat anything we see. But trust me guys, it's not like we don't have stuff that we can eat. They actually do. But if you're actually someone that loves food, I love eating, I actually have a family. Yes, if you have a big family, there's a need for you to bring as much as you can carry. But the thing is, all these things quite, they will still finish. Be that's actually one other thing. You will still exhaust them, no matter how much you want to carry. You actually find yourself exhausting them. But it does not mean that you shouldn't bring. So I'm going to actually give you a list of what you should bring if you're coming to Saudi Arabia. I think the very first and foremost thing you should bring is red oil. Guys, disclaimer, I didn't tell you this. If you didn't hear this from me, it's actually very difficult. When we first wanted to come to Saudi Arabia, we actually packed red oil. On getting to the airport, somehow it was sealed, so we couldn't travel with it. For that period was a very hard period for me, because I tried to make, because it came with egusi. I was trying to make egusi, but it was just so difficult to navigate my way around it. How can I make egusi soup without red oil? And then I realized, one thing about this proverb that says necessity is the mother of invention. You actually left with an option, and what is the option? You have to improvise. I actually found myself, cooking tomatoes and frying tomatoes and using tomatoes to make my egusi soup. Not that it was bad, it wasn't bad, but guys, now now you can't even compare it when you make the soup with red oil. So somehow I felt like there were soups I needed to make and I couldn't make them, because I like okra soup. I couldn't make okra soup because I didn't have red oil. So I felt like this is actually a necessity, and you can't get it here in Saudi Arabia. They don't sell it. We don't have anything like an African store here. Until one of our friends actually gave me red oil, because they usually, like, some of them, like, they ship things. They ship some of those products, some of this food stuff from Nigeria, because you can't carry. There are some you don't carry via plane, so they ship them. So that was how I managed to get myself through that period. So red oil is very important. But then the secret I want to give you. People do not hear this from me. It's not me that told you anything. Okay, so somehow I think if you kind of freeze your oil, like dead frozen, leave it in the refrigerator for some time before you travel, you can somehow, find your way, smuggle it into the country. Somehow, it's not me that first. Let's go. Let's proceed. It's not me that told you, and you did not hear from me. Second, let's talk about Barry. Of course, even if you don't like swallow, you can, of course, there's no way you would like to drink the gari. So it's actually very important. You don't get gari here in Saudi Arabia. You don't have gari here in Saudi Arabia. So it's actually very important that you pack these things. It's very, very important. So pack as much as you can. But then it's not like you won't exhaust it. Like I said earlier, you will definitely exhaust it. But I think there's an option. They have an alternative to Gary here in Saudi Arabia. They call it a semolina. Yes, it actually feels like Gary. It's not like our normal semo, but it feels like Nigeria, like Gary. But it's not like you can drink it. But actually, it's something you actually make do with if you exhaust your Gary here in Saudi Arabia. So that's it for that. Number three, you have, we talk about what's it called? Egusi, of course. If you're someone that loves swallow, you love to eat a lot, it's very necessary. Like sometimes you have to, like, have a change of food instead of eating the rice. Like I find myself always trying to navigate between rice and something because it's just like I feel like there are just so many. There's no option. Talking about food here is actually limited, so it's either rice and rice. It's either it's white rice or it's fried rice or it's jollof rice or it's coconut rice or it's rice and stew. I mean, because I don't have much option. So actually, if you're someone who actually enjoys eating swallow, you can actually get egusi with you while coming to Saudi Arabia. Very, very important to actually have a change of food. When I talk about ingredients, there are some ingredients you don't get. You don't even get. Okay, they have curry, but thyme is hard to get in Saudi Arabia. But they have this rosemary kind of, yeah, spice, but thyme is hard to get. And there is this flavor that thyme gives to food that is actually very unique. So you can pack your time. It's actually necessary. Then talk about Maggi cubes. We don't have anything like that in Saudi Arabia. So you actually have to, definitely you have to bring something like that along with you. Then another one is what's it called? Just skipped my mind. Beans. Yes, beans, guys. Now this is the issue with beans. Saudis, they have beans in Saudi Arabia. Actually, there is beans in Saudi Arabia. But the problem is it's actually all these black-eyed beans. I don't know, and it actually kind of takes time to cook, unlike our Nigerian, brown beans or honey beans that does not really take very long to cook. But this particular one takes long to cook, so that one would do. Actually, definitely would work. So, but if you can still bring your beans till it's finishes, they can actually fall back to their own beans. So but mostly what I do with their beans, I don't really cook it as normal beans. I just use and make moi or make like akara. That's actually what I usually use their beans for. So what else? Abacha. I love abacha. Abacha is actually a local Nigerian food. So I like it, and you can never, because you don't eat abacha, I never, I with my lips, never get it here in Saudi Arabia. So usually I like try to like bring a little but not much. So I just bring in the quantity I can bring in to like last a period of time. It's not what I actually eat often. It's not what you eat often. Just once in a while you have appetite for it. So vegetables. Let's talk about vegetables in Saudi Arabia. Bringing vegetables to Saudi Arabia. There is this. I don't know if any further person feels the same way too, but I don't think there is. People bring in vegetables. You can bring in vegetables, but one thing about bringing in vegetables here is that it has to be dried. And when it's dried, it's hard. When you put it in food, it does not feel fresh. So I don't really know, but then I think that's why I actually mentioned it. I just want to say that at least here in Saudi Arabia, I can get spinach. There's vegetables that comes close to what we have back home. So like spinach is good, it's actually an option. But if you think you actually want to like bring like some vegetable like bitter leaf, of course bitter leaf is better because you can actually cook it before you put it in your soup. But vegetable, I feel like if you cook it, you're cooking out the nutrients. I mean, that dry ugu does not feel right in soup when you put it in your soup or stew. So I don't really think, but if you think you want to, why not? Go ahead, it's your choice. So the point of this whole video right now is to inform. Is actually to inform. Is to inform you that it's actually very important that if you're coming to Saudi Arabia, you should actually consider bringing these things. They're very important. In fact, before now, I used to like, I thought of bringing in Milo. I usually bring in Milo, but unfortunately for me, my bag got missing. Sad, yes, but Luckily for me, I found Milo in some of the shops here in Saudi Arabia. So yeah, if you're lucky, you actually get Milo. If you're someone that likes drinking tea, you get Milo, Ovaltine, Horlicks, all those stuffs. They're actually in the mall, some of the malls here in Saudi Arabia. Yam. Oh my god, very important. They don't have yams in Saudi Arabia. And if you're someone like me that likes yam, that loves yam, you should get yam. I'll come in. It's very important to bring yam. No matter how small, just bring. So that's actually it for it, guys. Then let's talk about things that you will find in Saudi Arabia. Yes, even though we don't have African store in Saudi Arabia, there are still things that we luckily have that luckily we actually can find here. First and foremost, let's talk about plantain. There's actually a market called Mafrak. It's actually an Indian market. Thank God for these Indians. They are lifesavers, saving lives. So actually the Indians actually import plants. Thank you, Jesus. And that's actually how we're actually able to like have access to plantains in Saudi Arabia. They talk about, of course, there is rice in Saudi Arabia. They have basmati. They have another rice that comes close to Nigerian rice, which we eat. Then they have tomatoes, of course. They have tomatoes. How can't they even have tomatoes? So they have tomatoes. That's how we actually make our stew. But you never get another thing I forgot to mention earlier. If you like aku banga soup, you should bring your own banga while coming. It's very important to you too. Then let's talk about something else. Let's continue. Let's continue again. So they have tomatoes. They have, like I mentioned earlier, they have beans, like the little tiny black-eyed beans. They have it. So that's actually basically it for food stuff coming to Saudi Arabia. But if there is something else, I'll just list it after my video. I'll just list it in the description box in my video. So thank you very much, guys, for watching. Like my videos, subscribe to my channel, turn on the notification bell so you actually get notified when we post more videos. Okay, have a wonderful day.